This is a tutorial on replicated animation montages in Unreal Engine 4. We're going to start off by going to our third-person character blueprint. And we're going to type in 1. And then we'll be using play montage to play a montage animation. And plug in our mesh into the in-skeletal mesh component. Now, it needs to know what montage to play. To make a montage, you can go to a animation sequence, right-click, create anim montage. So this creates a montage. And if you want it to have root motion, so if you want the animation to drive the movement, you have to go into the animation sequence and turn on enable root motion. And now when the character gets animated, they will also move. Okay, so then you'll see it show up here. I have 2. So let's test that out. So I'm the server, and when I press 1, you see my character is sliding, so I think so the root motion from the animation is there, but for some reason we're not seeing the actual animation. So what's happening? Well, the third person anim BP by default does not have a slot set up for animations. If you go to our montage, you'll notice there's a track here that says default group default slot. This is what the animation plays on, and our third person anim BP, if you go to content mannequins animation, by default, if you go to the anim graph, it does not have a slot here. So if we right click and type in slot, plug this in this way, what will happen now is that whenever we fire a play montage, it'll fire on this slot and it will override any locomotion such as walking, jumping, all that stuff right here is going to be overridden by our animation temporarily. Once the animation is done, it's going to blend back into the default. So when this isn't playing anything, it's playing everything to the left. And now if we do this and we go to our play and click 1, now our character will roll. But you'll notice on the client, I still don't see the roll. Why is that? Well, because right now we are only running this animation locally. So how do we fix that? So let me first explain what's happening. So right now we are calling this play montage locally from this guy, right? He is the only one that's able to see it. In our case, it's the server. You'll notice this still works on the client. So if you see the client in the top left, he could roll on his screen, but it doesn't show an animation on the server. And you'll notice how he gets rubber banded. That's because the server is trying to correct his movement. The sudden burst of speed isn't something the server expected. It wasn't something the server was told to do. And the character movement component tries to avoid cheating, so it's pulling him back to avoid the sudden burst of speed. This could do something like prevent speed hacks in the game, for example. So what we need to do is that we need to run this on a server. To do that, we're going to do a custom event. We're going to call this server attack. Run this on server, make it reliable. And now let's see what happens if we do this. If we play montage on server, and then we call server attack here. Okay. So when we play 1, we're going to call server attack. Server attack executes on the server, and then we play a montage. So if I play server and I press 1, cool, I'm dodging. However, if I go to my client and I press 1, I'm only dodging on the server because the dodge animation is only running on the server. So how do we make it sync up? So locally, I can run this animation because even though I'm pressing 1 on my local computer, it's really only running the animation on the server. So if I wanted to run on my computer and everyone else's, including the server, we'll have to do the following. See, so right now it's running on the animation went from local to server, but it never ran here. Right? That's why only the server's seeing it. What we're going to do next is we're going to make it so it goes up to the server and then back down to everyone. So we're going up and then back down. And we're initially not running the animation locally. To do that, we're going to do a custom event. And we're going to call this multi-attack. And we're going to shift this down here instead. And call on here multi-attack. So here's the code. When we press 1, we're going to call the server to call the server attack function. And once this is running on the server, we are on server now. Server is going to say to everyone, play the montage. So again, what we're doing is we're going up the flow to the server, and only the server should be the one to call a multicast. You should only multicast from the server. So we're going up and then back down to everyone. And when we do this, and we press 1, notice how, did I forget something? Yeah. Make sure you make your multi-attack a multicast reliable. Otherwise, it won't spread out to everyone, right? So right now it was only calling it locally. And now you can see on the top left, I'm able to dodge on both server and client, and the client has no rubber banding. So you can do this with attacks, you can do this with anything that is an animation montage, and it avoids you the trouble of having to make state machines to blend into animations. So that was the tutorial on replicated animation montages in Unreal Engine 4.